Um, we went to the lakes. We had to pack up the car and drive to the lakes for swimming.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the movies. It was called the Lamar in Maywood, Illinois. We went mushrooming. That's something different. A lot. And my mom used to can all the mushrooms and would have them all downstairs in the basement and on a shelf. Yummy, yummy. What else did we do for fun? Well, me or my family?
Both.
Both. Well, I think I told you that we have freedom in our neighborhoods. I mean, there were like 3 streets that were built in Westchester. Just 3. 3 streets, and they were 2 blocks long.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, we would all have to be home when our front porch light came on. It was freedom. There was no fear of anybody, anything in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And about 4 from our 3 blocks that had homes on it, there was a development that never developed. Let's put it that way. Other than these 3 blocks, and from Buckingham, Downing, and Kensington, those were the 3 streets. Do you want me to text you this stuff or email you?
No, you're good. I'm recording your voice right now.
Oh, great. Anyway, from the main Manheim Road, the big main road that went from Wisconsin down to Indiana, it was very mildly trafficked, shall we say. But right before that, toward our homes, there was Salt Creek, and in the summer we used to go and pick frogs and play with the frogs in the creek, and in the winter we took our ice skates and went ice skating on there. So that was our recreation in the winter. Plus, the man next door who didn't have any children, Mr. Rowan, he did have a child that was mentally unbalanced, mentally, I hate to say retarded, but she was. And he used to bring her home in the summer, and he would bring her over. She was older than me. And we would run through the sprinklers. And in the winter, he would bring her home to his house, and we would go sledding on these empty streets between our 3 blocks and the main road, which there were probably like 5 empty streets that had their curbs in, had the streets in, had trees planted, but were never built in. And he used to drive us in his car and pull us on the sleds. And we had tons of sleds going there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of dangerous when you think about it now, but nothing was dangerous in those days. Let's see. There was, on the other side of us where there were empty streets, there was Martha's Farm that they had purchased. I guess the builder had purchased, and it just was unoccupied, and all of us used to go over, and it was a farm with a barn and everything, and we used to jump off the hayloft, literally. There was nobody around, nobody worried about us. We were all together as a group. In the windows of every home that had somebody in the service, I think I wrote this to you too, had a little flag. It was like a square, red trim and navy blue on the edges, and there was a star in the window. They'd put the star. If you had somebody that was in the service, there was a silver star. If there was somebody that died in World War II, there was a gold star on that window. I just remember going up and down the streets whenever I went out with my parents. You'd look at all these stars in the window, and everybody had somebody in the war.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I think I told you before, my mom was a telephone operator,
mm-hmm.
where she sat with the headset and she'd plug into the board saying, "Number, please," because all our telephones were 3-party, and I remember we had a 3-party line, and you had to wait for the other people to get off before you used the phone. We had 1 car. I think it was an 42 Oldsmobile, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think when they start making them again, because everything was canceled basically for the war. Anyway, I remember we had a black car. And everybody just had one car. Nobody had. My mom used to take my dad to work. He worked at Northern Illinois Gas Company. And my mom used to take him to work, come home, and take care of us. And then she would work in the evening. She worked from 2 to 10. So my dad would be home from work at 3. And, we were taken care of. What else I can't think of anything else. Gosh. Fond memories of the whole time. Mm-hmm. It's in 1948, my sister graduated from high school. So I was in grammar school at that point. My friend Pat and I did all kinds of stuff together. In fact, I just called her last week. We talk all the time. She's in Kimberly, Wisconsin. We're both old, yes. But we talk all the time. Which is kind of neat when you think about it, since the age of 10.
Yeah.
Where we are, 67 years of conversation. Yeah, what else? But, I guess it was Victory Day when there were tons of airplanes that flew over, VJ Day. And I remember everyone went out and we looked at the planes. Everybody had their hand over their heart, showing the end of the war. Haven't thought about that in 60 years, really. 65 years. Very simple, very pleasurable. I can't think of any bad things that happen anywhere around us. Kids were, as I said, between those 3 blocks, we probably had 20, 25 kids. My sister was 6 years older, so they were from her age till probably a year or 2 younger than me at the time. And neighborhood kids in our block, we had, I can count them. We lived the third house from the corner. And the corner house was the chief of police. That's how safe our neighborhood was. And he had 2 boys. Next to us was the Karens. They had a boy and a girl. My house had 2. Skip a house. The Ortons had 5 kids. The Keatings had 1. I mean, I could go all the way down the street. Across the street from me. And this is the story your mother would absolutely love. It was a prairie. They didn't build the first 3 houses right across from me. And when I moved to California, in Northridge, sitting there talking to this couple that had just moved from Chicago, he was part of the building of the house across the street when they finally built it. I'm sure I'm talking to him in Northridge. And years ago when he was in high school, he was helping a construction company, and he helped build the house across the street from me. Small world?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It gets smaller. One of his best friends from, I don't know where, maybe the construction business, was a boy that I went to grammar school with. Small world. Very. We had 50, that's still the 50s. We graduated in 1950 from grammar school. So 1949, still, there were 50 kids in our 8th grade class. And we graduated in 1950. It was a brand new school. St. Francis Xavier had just put on an addition. So we always remembered 50 kids in 1950.